Hello everyone, and welcome to Meta Monday. Today I'm playing a deck that honestly goes back basically to the beginning of the format. People were playing something like this even before the set had officially released, and has kind of stuck with us till then. This is Boros Angels, and at its core, this is really a mid-range deck. We've got removal to not die early and then try to take over the game with our superior card quality later. But it's a little bit different than a normal mid-range deck, and the difference is we don't really have a form of card advantage or value or anything like that. Instead, the premise of this deck is basically to avoid dying in the early turns, and then starting around turn 3, we just want to slam a threat every turn and hope that the opponent can't deal with it. Whether it's a History of Benalia that they can't deal with all the bodies, or a big flyer that they can't deal with and it'll just end the game by itself. It has some strengths in that you can be really far behind with this deck and still win. Even if your opponent has a bunch of 2/2s on board and an extra couple cards in hand and is up on mana, sometimes they can't beat Lyra Dawnbringer and she'll just win the game by herself. And that is a really powerful thing to be doing. Also, you get access to basically the best reactive cards. Red has good cheap removal in Shock and Lava Coil, and white gives you Ixalan's Binding, which is really good for decks that are light on threats. If they play like a Crackling Drake and then you Ixalan's Binding it, it can be really difficult for them to find a way to actually end the game. The weaknesses of this deck, though, are that you don't have any card advantage, and so you're kind of just at mercy at what the top of your deck gives you. Sometimes you draw too many lands, and you just lose the game. Sometimes you don't draw enough lands, and you don't have any ways to just dig for them. Them's the breaks. Also, this deck's mana is not incredible. We're playing 11 dual lands, which is a lot. That puts us at 20 white sources and 16 red, which is enough for all these double symbol cards that we're playing. But at the same time, 3 Boros Guildgate is just asking to have your mana mess up on you sometimes. So things will go wrong when we try to play mana this intensive. Moving on to the sideboard, it's basically just a mid-range deck sideboard. Adapt to what your opponent is trying to do to make sure you have the right answers and the right threats. The only really weird card is Direfleet Daredevil. This card is kind of hilarious against the Phoenix decks, because Charter Course is exactly what this deck is missing. If we can play one of these cards on turn 3, and then turn 4 attack with them, and then play a 2/1 that also draws 2 cards, it becomes a lot easier to win the game because you are really far ahead. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hop into the matches. Alright, getting into the first match. A.E. Marling seems familiar. I might have played against this person before. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that's not even close. We're a very mana-hungry deck, and this deck does have 25 lands, so you are going to draw enough most of the time. But, ugh. I mean, okay, we only need to find 1 land to be kind of okay, but our scry is going to have to help us out here. Ooh, that is not what we want on the top of our deck. Alright, we have 2 more looks at a land before we miss anything. Watery Grave. We have a good hand against Watery Grave. They will have a lot of spot removal, and so they're pretty bad against these cards. Grixis, alright. Maybe a Thought Erasure? No, Discovery. Okay. Really need to hit a land here, and I don't know. We had 3 looks at a land. We only needed 1 in our top 3 cards to be doing pretty well. Sometimes things just don't work out when you mull to 6. Okay. Huh? Okay, this is in the graveyard. Well, we hit the land, and that's sweet, so I'm going to play this Adanto Vanguard. Opponent playing Bolos is a little worrying. That's one of the best cards these Grixis decks can play against us, because... Sure, I'm fine with that now. Because our creatures don't attack into it very well, and we don't have that much removal for it. So it can give us a little trouble, but... Here... Huh. Really? What does that tell us? That they want us to discard a card off of a Bolos that they probably have in hand, would be my guess. This is honestly the last of these cards that I would have taken if I were opponent. Obviously, they know what's in their hand and we don't. Spinning Lava Coil, okay. That also tells me they have another answer for the Rekindling Phoenix, because Lava Coil is one of the few cards that matches up very well against the bird. Drawing Sacred Foundry was sweet. So, question is, what do we do here? I could play an Adanto Vanguard and then just try to punch in damage. Even if they play Bolas, I can still effectively attack. History of Benalia might be better because it'll offer one big attack through Bolas and doesn't cost us a bunch of life. It also uses our mana more efficiently, so I'm going to go ahead and stick this. Notably, Aurelia gets 1/1 when a lot of other creatures don't. Oh, do they have a shock for my knight? They do. Okay. Like, any removal spell can just 1/1 this, which is bad. Yep, I figured that's what they had. Okay, but the thing is, she works really well with Adanto Vanguard, because she can buff up our Vampire Soldier, and now opponents' blocks are really bad. But they don't really want to take 5 either, so... Opponent's in a rough spot here. Like, if they just have, like, 2 good removal spells, like a Moment of Craving and then something else, we will die quickly, but on board, they are not doing so well. Would love to draw a red source to stick this Phoenix this turn. That would probably push the game over the edge, just give us enough removal, or enough threats to finish things out. It's too bad Aurelia isn't an Angel Knight. That would be cool. I would like that. This might be a little too good, if that were the case, but it would be fun at least. So what I'm going to do on this next turn, assuming nothing else happens, I'm going to target herself with Aurelia, because then that lets her attack in, and she'll actually be able to mentor the Adanto Vanguard. Yeah, blowing a Lava Coil on that, I'm fine with that. Because she'll go up to a 4/5, and so even though this attack is a 3/1, she'll have enough power to pump it. And that means that Bolas can't profitably attack either of our creatures, which is awesome. Can't profitably block, sorry. Yeah, and then we stick this Resplendent Angel, which, like, doesn't do that much, but it's just another threat when our opponent is going to start going very low. And actually, it is a lethal threat if it gets to attack alongside Aurelia. So that's cool. If opponent bins the thing, they can flip this here, but I don't even know what that does for them. Yep. Okay. Like, it's an extra land, which is cool, but it doesn't really do anything. Like, they can't really activate it. They'll be out of mana. Opponent would need, like, I don't know, like a removal spell here, and then they chump with Bolas and hope to pull it back. Yeah, I think opponent concedes. Cool. We did the Boros Angels thing. Got a little bit lucky drawing the lands that we did, but we play 25 lands for a reason. Okay, cutting Shock because they are terrible. Opponent took that Tocatli Honor Guard, but I don't think it's very good, so I'm probably going to look to bin some of those. I'm going to play an Ixalan's Binding, because they are the type of deck that I was talking about. They'll be threat light, and so if we can get rid of some of those, that would help us a lot. Do I want this much removal? I think maybe not. Go ahead and trim, like, a Lava Coil. I think Justice Strike is better than Lava Coil, because they might have Doom Whisperer, and I would like to be able to hit that. I think Direfleet Daredevils are probably fine. Not incredible. I'm going to go ahead and bring in a couple, because it's really cool if we can get, like, a Discovery Dispersal off of this. Just a threat that cantrips. But the last card I'm thinking about is the Immortal Sun. They didn't show us any Planeswalkers, and Grixis doesn't have great Planeswalkers. But just as a Howling Mine effect, often if we stick this, we're going to be able to win the game pretty easily just drawing 2 cards a turn. And Grixis also does not have excellent answers for the Immortal Sun. They don't have Ixalan's Binding, and they're unlikely to board in some sort of Shatter effect, so... I could be wrong on bringing in the Suns, but... This hand is very bad. Mana just doesn't work. This hand is also pretty bad, but the mana's closer. Sometimes 11 dual lands is not enough dual lands. This is the other struggle of the deck. So many of our cards cost 1,000,000 mana. Okay, that's good for them. Yeah. We are in trouble this game. Draws have been extremely poor, and we were on a bad 6 to start. Whereas opponent is getting all the time in the world to do exactly what they want. I suspect opponent is blue-red splash black for Bolas, which also suggests they might have Niv Mizzet. You can't play a heavy black deck and play Niv. Just doesn't really work. Okay, that was pretty much the best draw we could possibly have. This is also like our worst threat though, so... They've been to 2 Lava Coils. They might have some trouble dealing with it. If opponent plays a Bolas, we will pitch an Aurelia, since we have a spare, and then we can Lava Coil it and hit them. What I'm worried about is not applying enough pressure before they get to start just activating Azcanta every turn. Well, if we find a land, we can Daredevil plus Discovery, which was exactly what I said I wanted to do, but... Yeah, this is really bad. Opponent gets to do... Oh, they don't have it. Huh. I kind of expected, like, a Chemist's Insight or something like that there. Yep. What I talked about last time. Interesting. So that must have been their draw for the turn. Otherwise, I'm sure they would have played it last turn. Okay, Boros Guildgate. I was considering if we'd drawn an untapped land, I might have Ixalan's Binding to this, just to shut off future copies of Bolas, but that is not currently an option, so we're just going to deal with it how we can. We now have the mana to cast the cards in our hand, so maybe we'll have a shot. Like I said, though, they are pretty close to just flipping this and running away with the game. Yeah. I would love it if they, like, played a land and slammed a Niv here, so that we could just Ixalan's Binding it and not worry about that anymore. If opponent does nothing, I will probably attempt to Dire Fleet Daredevil on our turn. Like I said, getting a Discovery would be sweet. Also gets a card out of their graveyard, notably. So it slows down a search for Azcanta. That doesn't work if they counter our guy, but we can try. Oh, this was a mistake. I was thinking I might try to play around something by playing the extra land, but if Discovery gets us into a Boros Guildgate, we'll want to have played that this turn. Unlikely, but those are the types of plays that can make the difference sometimes. Huh. I think I want the Vanguard, but not the Resplendent Angel. Which is a little unfortunate because they are good together, but now if we draw a land next turn, we can double threat. Okay. Huh. It's a good thing they don't get to see what I do with the card, because, it's not like Explore, where they'd get to see that I just put an Adanto Vanguard in my hand. Okay, main phase Azcanta. Their hand must be pretty bad. Disdainful Stroke? Sure. Have another Bolas here, maybe? Nope. Lava Coil. Okay. Yeah, this is where... This game is probably just over. Opponent found a permission spell and removal while also drawing an extra card off of Azcanta. And so we are probably I'm going to throw this out there, expecting it to eat a Disdainful Stroke. We're going to have to walk into Stroke eventually. And I think that's our worst card, so I'm fine with that one getting countered by it. Wow, Price of Fame. Okay. We don't have that many legends in our deck. Ugh. People play this card a lot, and it's just so inefficient if you don't have the right target. Okay, they activate his Kenta again. This is one of the problems with the deck. We just don't have enough pressure. Like, if we had 12 creatures like this, then I would feel fine in this matchup. We could reliably stick a difficult-to-deal-with threat and just beat them down. But we just don't. You can't mulligan for your 4 Adanto Vanguards. That's not how you can win at Magic. So instead, we just let them get down as Kenta, or search for as Kenta, and we do nothing, and then play a bunch of 4-drops and hope that's good enough, and it's just not. It's almost never going to be. We mined a land, kept one on top, so they found something good. I'm going to go ahead and hold the Clifftop Retreat. If opponent plays a Bolas, I want something mediocre to discard to it. I want to find another Moment of Craving. I'll concede to that. Yep, there's no way for us to come back without any pressure. They've got a counter for our 1 threat, and they're drawing 2 cards a turn. So yeah, I really, really, really wish this deck had, like, Duress or something like that. But we don't, so maybe I'm supposed to board in more Daredevils just as, like, 2-drops we can play? Like, just play this as a Piker and start attacking? I don't think that's awful. Alright, on the play. Hoping for just enough lands to play Adanto Vanguard into History of Benalia. That hand is beyond atrocious. Okay, this is almost what I asked for. Nope. Alright. We are once again at the mercy of the top of our deck. We would love to have another land on 3, although Honor Guard shutting down Bolas isn't the worst thing. Problem is that we still can't really beat a Bolas. Like, we can't really attack into it. We just don't have options there. Okay. Opponent has not hit any black yet. Black mana, so they can't Moment of Craving Adanto Vanguard. Would love a Clifftop Retreat right there. We also only need 1 red mana and 1 other one to Daredevil their Discovery now. Into 2 cards, okay. Well, sometimes not quite as lucky. I think we still have a few turns to hit lands and be in an okay spot, depending. We've got some pressure on board, and all of our cards are pretty good. But we'll need some help. And for the record, I do think these are some of the worst matchups for this deck. Our threats are so big and expensive and clunky, and our opponent can very easily 1-for-1 them. It's really difficult to take the game. Another 3-drop instead of lands. I don't know what else I would expect. Okay. Opponent doesn't look to have a Moment of Craving. Spit Flame, okay. They are about to slam a Bolas. We will gladly discard this Resplendent Angel because it doesn't do anything. I do wonder if they have other dragons or if this is just an okay... Okay, opponent is much deeper on dragons than we saw the first while. Guy goes off at 7. So I think we can just safely ignore this for a while. Don't need to put it to 1 with the Adanto. I don't think that does anything. Another expensive card instead of a land. maybe I'm supposed to attack this down to 1, but ugh. That just feels like a losing play. I just stop applying pressure here. If they play any dragon, I can't finish him off, and I just have nothing going on. Okay, opponent's still not playing a dragon this turn. If they have anything except Moment of Craving for Adanto Vanguard, maybe we're okay. Okay, now I am going to attack Sarkhan, because we're still bricking and we do need to avoid this ult. Maybe if by some miracle we get to connect... Okay, I'm done. That was an absolutely atrocious showing from the deck. I hope it's better than that, because if this is how the deck plays, I don't know how people win tournaments with it. Alright, getting into the second match. Literally old fogey, huh? Alright. Ugh. This hand sucks, but is our average 6 better? I don't think it is. We have a good aggressive card and a card that shuts down the most popular deck by itself. Like, Pot Collector, okay. Notably, they will get one shot at growing this turn, but Tocatli Honor Guard stops this from growing. Also blocks both of these creatures effectively. Okay, that was not a good draw, but whatever. This is the type of matchup that we can win. We have a way... We've already basically shut down their aggression. They'll chip in for 2, but whatever. That doesn't matter. But then these decks, like just green-white aggro, have a really tough time beating big angels. Oh, this didn't trigger an ability because of Tocatli Honor Guard. Okay. Sometimes I even forget that my own cards do things. I was like, why didn't they make it a 4/3? But... Yep. Okay, that is a tougher to beat card, but we have a 5/5, so... Opponent's attacks aren't really good here. They can throw away a Knight of Autumn for 2 damage. That's pretty mediocre. Yeah. Well, even if they have a removal spell, we have another Lyra, so as long as we don't just die here, I think we should be fine. Again, opponent's attack's not great. Sure, tick 5. I don't know why the opponent has auto tapper turned off, but whatever. Okay, nothing. Would have liked that last turn, but that is fine. This is actually one of the best draws we could have at this point, because Lyra holds back the Steel Leaf champion, so we just have a good holding pattern on board. And even if... one of the problems would be then that we can't really have good attacks, except Aurelia gives Lyra Vigilance, so... Yeah. Opponent's attacks are just not good. Like, if they hadn't played the Llanowar Elves and they had another land, they could threaten to pump this, but it's not really winning. Okay, well, we've got spare Lyras, so even if something bad happens to our you win the game button, I think we're gonna be okay. I love the big, loud, crunchy noise when you hit with something that's really big. Opponent scoops. Yeah. I talked about how, the other deck that we just played against was a very bad matchup, because they could easily 1-for-1 all of our threats. This is a very good matchup, because opponent is just so cold to a Lyra. I think History of Benalia is our worst card. It loses to our sweeper that we just boarded in, and also doesn't attack well into their cards. Maybe we want Fight with Fire to deal with big threats. Eh. Maybe I'm supposed to, like, board in these and take out a couple of our weak 3-drops again. Resplendent Angel can just win the game if we, like, gain a bunch of life off of a Lyra or something like that, but we're already winning the game if we do that, so I think I just want to minimize how much damage the Deafening Clarions are doing to ourselves. Maybe I'm not even supposed to board this way. Maybe I keep the 3-drops and board out, like, Adanto Vanguards, because we're unlikely to be the attacking deck. Oh my gosh, the number of 1-landers we've seen today. Have to mulligan. Sand is better? We want another Lava Coil. I don't think so. I think we're just looking for land 4 and big threats. We've already got a bit of spot removal and a really good card. Cool, found land 4, and it is red for Rekindling Phoenix. Awesome. Crawl Harpooner, sure. Notably, Tocatli Honor Guard does not block that, but it will stop further ones from shooting down our angels, like that angel right there. It's kind of interesting when building decks in this format. I think looking to play a Tocatli Honor Guard yourself is a very good goal. Like, it's so good against the decks it's good against. Not going to play the angel. I just need to stop taking so much damage, and the angel doesn't really do anything. We can start playing our really good flyers next turn. But, yeah, because this card is so good against a bunch of decks, but you have to build your own deck really strangely to take advantage of it. Nullhide Ferox is huge. Well, Deafening Clarion, you do not look very good here. Also suddenly wish I had that other Lava Coil back. Well, no I don't. Lava Coil isn't very good against Nullhide Ferox. We need a Justice Strike. Opponent looks like they were getting ready to slam a Crawl Harpooner, but that would not line up very well against Rekindling Phoenix. Sure, I'll go ahead and block here. If they've got a removal spell for the egg, like whatever, it was probably an exile one, so it was probably going to work fine anyway. I think it's more likely this is just a bluff attack trying to make me scared. Sure. Llanowar Elves doing what it does, coming down on turn 5 and not doing anything. Shalai, Voice of Plenty. That's a scary card. Land, please. Land, please. No land. Oh well. Opponent still needs one more land to activate this, but if they get to do that even once, we will be in trouble. This requires 5 life, which is a little awkward that you can't just play Lyra and put this up to a 4/4. That won't gain you quite enough life, but... Opponent's attack's not great here, because I'm just going to do the same thing as last time. Like, again, if they have removal, I think it would be like an exile spell that would have worked on my Phoenix anyway. And if they attack with anything else to try to get the Ferox through, then I just eat those creatures. Yep, get my Phoenix back. Land. Sweet. Go ahead and play my big awesome angel. Do I attack with Resplendent Angel? I don't think I do. I don't think I want to lose it to some sort of trick. Instead, I can just pass. The only card that would really just win the game for my opponent at this point would be Vivian Reed. Oh, they did already have 6 mana. It's a good thing I didn't attack with Resplendent Angel. I wasn't counting Llanowar Elves. Oopsie. Depending on what opponent does, I might have to do something a little tricky here. Opponent doesn't really want to attack with Shalai. They can pretty much guarantee getting in, but because my blocks are bad since they're threatening to activate. But alright, let's see what they do. Okay, get my Phoenix back. I don't know why they keep doing that. Like, do they think I'm gonna make a different play? I don't know. Yeah, so, what we're going to do. Pre-combat. Sure, let's do both. This looks kind of bad, and in some ways it is kind of bad, but it does something very important, which is it will mark 3 damage on this Shalai Voice of Plenty, and so my opponent will no longer have good blocks on my Lyra Dawnbringer. Yep, this saves their Crawl Harpooner. It's a little unfortunate we couldn't do this a turn earlier, but that's fine. So, now, because Lyra has first strike, she will go ahead and get in. Opponent doesn't have good blocks anymore. She can eat both of these, even if they tried to. We gain 1,000,000 life. Play our Honor Guard again. And now we have another 5/5 lifelink. They still might be able to run away with the game with just activating Shalai a bunch of times, but we also might just be able to kill them in the air. I'll go ahead and take 8, that's fine. We would love to draw like a Justice Strike here. Get my Phoenix back. Is this worth doing again? His opponent, they have enough land now, so they can make this a 6/5, which doesn't block Lyra. This a 6/7, which does, but doesn't block anything else well. Yeah, let's go for it. Because now I get to block or attack with both of these angels, and opponent's blocks aren't very good. So we'll gain a ton of life back, threaten to get in a lot of damage, and then get another angel at the end of the turn. We keep abusing our own Phoenix here, which is not incredible, but I do have to do that pre-combat, otherwise this doesn't work. I guess they could actually trade Shalai for Lyra here by double blocking, but yeah, I didn't think they were going to do that. And now they're just in a really tough spot. Like, they don't have enough blockers for our 5/5 angels. And only one needs to connect. If they attack with just Nullhide Ferox, whatever, they threaten 10 at most. That's just not enough. It's so weird to me that these have Vigilance. I feel like angel tokens usually don't. I'm not used to them being actual Sarah angels. What could they have that... There isn't really a way to play around anything they can have, is the big thing. I'm just gonna probably untap, attack with all my creatures, probably activate Resplendent Angel. To make that a lethal threat as well. It's funny that we drew 2 Deafening Clarions, and they killed a Llanowar Elves, and that's all. Just the 1 Llanowar Elves, but they've been very good anyway. Just because of the interaction with First Strike. That's not usually how that card goes. Especially, we've killed 2 of our own Tocatli Honor Guards. We 4-for-1'd ourselves with those Deafening Clarions, but that was still good enough. Opponent either in the tank or upset about the onslaught of unbeatable angels. Both somewhat understandable. Normally I'd cut, but there's just a few seconds left, and we can see how this game turns out. Yep. Go through to my turn. Get my Phoenix back again. This Phoenix has done a lot of work. It died to this Nullhide Ferox a bunch of times, and then died to our own cards several times. Opponent, presumably timing out again. Okay, now I'll go ahead and cut. Alright. Opponent finished timing out. We got the game. That brings us to 3-2 in games and 1-1 in matches, which is a lot better than I felt about this a few minutes ago. We have seen the gamut of what this deck can do. It can lose horribly to control decks or crush dirtily creature decks. I'll be back for the third match to see how this thing turns out overall. Alright, getting into the fourth match, and yes, you did hear that correctly. I played the third match, but someone decided to vacuum right outside my apartment, and it was very loud, and the footage was not really usable, so I'm going to wrap it up with a fourth one instead. Yeah, this hand seems good. We need a third land eventually, but we have two very good cards and our mana works. Sacred Foundry tapped, that's fine. Gonna go ahead and play an Adanto Vanguard. If this is the mirror, then Tocatli Honor Guard doesn't really do anything, and if this is a control deck, this is the better card to have down. More red-white. Knight of Grace, okay. Well, Adanto Vanguard still matches up very well against that, so I'm gonna go ahead and swing in. Alright, opponent thinks they can be more aggressive than we are. Let's see if they are right. We are already going kind of low here because of the Sacred Foundry and that, but we have a much better board, and we just basically traded 4 life for a card and their entire second turn, so sure. Opponent had nothing going on. Sweet. So, we can play another Resplendent Angel, which plays poorly against another Lightning Strike. They can just eat it with a removal spell. Or we can play History of Benalia, which plays very poorly against Knight of Grace. I'm going to go with the History. I think it's more likely they have more removal than more Knights. I think they might have played another Knight there to just force us to pay more life if we wanted to get in. We'll see if I am correct. I am not correct. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to attack with my Adanto Vanguard. I will pay 4 life again. This is even more important than the first time we did it, because it frees up both of our these knights to attack next turn. Opponent is ahead on life, but very far behind on board. If they have a Deafening Clarion, like land Clarion, they could catch up here, but ugh, that deck construction would not be great. Of course, sometimes, I'm not going to go to 6 here, but sometimes you build your deck very strangely, and I would argue poorly, and then get very rewarded for it. Ugh, if we'd had a 4th land, like, ever, oh my gosh, and the 3rd Knight of Grace? Things are just not really going our way. I'm just not going to attack with Adanto Vanguard. I don't want to pay more life. God, and it wasn't just having Deafening Clarion in your 2-drops Boros aggro deck. It was that they bricked on 3rd land for so long and then hit it exactly that turn. Sure, I'm gonna let my Adanto Vanguard go, that's fine. Excuse me. Opponent is starting to run out of cards. Hopefully we can just take over with our superior top end. And I could try to remove their creatures, but I'm just gonna try to stick this Phoenix here. And try to end the game very quickly. Well, I'm glad I held the Lava Coil. Cool. So, I'm gonna go ahead and Lava Coil, Rekindling Phoenix. I'm not going to attack with both here, I think, because that doesn't do a whole lot. Makes it a lot easier to attack for lethal next turn. Yeah, I'll go ahead and attack with both. This is a little risky. We're threatening a lot of damage on the crackback, even with this Honor Guard. But now we only need one of these plus Honor Guard to get in for damage next turn, and definitely these two together is enough. Well, that was a very good draw. Yuck. Probably gonna take... Okay, takes the Phoenix. Interesting. Aurelia kind of seems better to me because she deals the same amount of damage but has Vigilance. So, if I make her a 4/5, attack with both, this becomes a 2/4. They can't block to kill. They could with a Shock, but I feel like they would have played differently if they had a Shock before anyway. And, like, whatever. If opponent double blocks here and then shocks my Honor Guard to just eat it, I still traded Honor Guard for a Shock and I'm putting them to 1. When I'm about to play another lethal threat. Opponent possibly unsure of what to do. I was gonna say, I don't think that they can really have much here to be in a good spot. Like, yeah, I figured that unless they had something, this was the most likely play. They just lose their Adanto Vanguard for nothing. Did I accidentally hit past turn somewhere in there? I didn't think I did, but I did not get to cast my Rekindling Phoenix. Huh. Wonder if I messed that up. Oh well. I think we are very likely to win anyway, but that is still an unfortunate mistake. I'm going to go ahead and play this. Give her Vigilance again, because then she can continue mentoring this. Opponent's blocks continue to be not good. Which one do I want to kill? I'll kill Tajik. Oh, and she has Trample anyway. What am I saying? I forgot that red creatures get Trample, because it isn't usually a red ability, but... Okay. Despite some weirdness, we were able to win that one. I think I want Fight with Fire, because I suspect opponent is going to have their own Lyras after board. What are our worst cards? I think the Honor Guard is going to be very bad. It's 60. If things were a little different, I would board in our own Deafening Clarions, but if opponent wants that to be their thing, more power to them. I think everything else is fine. There's some argument for like an Ixalan's Binding, but mostly just wish I could board in Shocks 3 and 4, but that is not an option here, so I'm gonna run it. Okay. Now that I think about it, their Deafening Clarions make more sense because of Tajik. Because he'll prevent the damage to the other creatures, but it seems pretty marginal to me. Like, I've thought about it, but... Like, you still kill your Tajik. Like, you're still 2-for-1ing yourself to get the Clarion effect. So unless it's really, really good, it doesn't really do anything. Sand is great. It's a little land heavy, but we have Removal Spell, 3-drop, 4-drop, and they're all good cards. This is exactly what we're hoping for. Opponent going to 6. That is also what we're hoping for. Alright, Elite Pyro, what do you got? Nothing that turn. Cool. Resplendent Angel, fine draw. Probably still going to History of Benalia on 2, unless they... Even if they play a Knight, I think we were going to kill it with Justice Strike. Lava Coil, another great draw. Heads off a possible Phoenix. Okay. Huh. I assume that this is how this works. We are going to have to kill this, because it just trumps the history. It's funny that Justice Strike is really bad against lifelink creatures, because they gain the life off of it. Because Justice Strike makes the creature deal damage to itself. I hadn't had that come up before. Knight of Grace, sure. Opponent misses on land 4. I think what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to play the Mountain and I'm going to play a Phoenix. We don't get to attack in this turn, but we do get to attack in next turn when they are bigger. And I don't have to spend the Lava Coil yet. I can look to spend it on something scarier. Don't want to commit too much more to the board. In case of like a Clarion plus a removal spell here. Nope, they just have the Lava Coil, sure. Opponent should attack here. I guess we could trade a knight for it by double blocking, but that seems pretty whatever. Oh, do they have a shock? No. History of Benalia. Again, I feel like my main... Did I hit past turn again without noticing? I could swear that I didn't. Maybe I'm hitting, like, damage twice to go through first strike damage, but... I really feel like I'm getting some phases skipped here, and it's pretty irritating. Gonna go ahead and clear this guy out. They could have traded, which I don't really want. I want to keep getting damage through. Also, leaving Tajik on the battlefield makes their Deafening Clarions better. Would have really liked to get in another 3 damage there and be able to play Boros Guildgate, but yeah. Yep, sure. Play it in your super aggro deck where it kills every card that you play. Sweet. Yeah, I think I must just be clicking the orange button too fast when there's a first strike creature, and so I'm like clicking through damage and then first strike damage and then damage and whatever, but ooh boy. I feel like that shouldn't be quite so easy to click through if that's what I'm doing. I feel like we've got this game locked up. Opponent didn't do anything. Maybe they've got like a Settle the Wreckage. I can continue to play around that. Sure, I'll pay 2 life and get the Honor Guard down. I'll just only attack with 1 or maybe 2 of my creatures next turn. Probably Aurelia and the Tocatli Honor Guard. Just... I'm so far ahead that even if it takes me a couple extra turns to close the game, I don't want to lose to something weird like a Settle. Opponent drew quite a few lands, so did we, but that's how it goes sometimes. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to attack for lethal here, because in the case of a Settle the Wreckage, I still want to be able to win the game. Okay, not exactly the same, but if I'd attacked with Lyra Dawnbringer, it would have targeted Lyra. And yeah, we're actually pretty close to kicking this, which is funny. History of Benalia, sure. Notably still leaving up Settle the Wreckage, so I'm just once again going to attack with Aurelia. I think this is very safe. It'll take opponent 1,000,000 turns to kill us. And so we can have our 5/5 that threatens lethal, and 1 more land drop will end the game at any time. Alright, so red-white little creatures loses to red-white big creatures with first strike and lifelink. Yeah, I think that showed exactly what this deck can do. You can crush your good matchups, and your opponent doesn't really have a chance, or you can lose horrifically to control. So you really need to have a read on the metagame to decide whether or not you should play this deck. We went 3-1 overall, though, which is pretty good. So, if you liked this video and you want to see more like it, it would be awesome if you could subscribe to this channel. It helps make sure you see all of our lovely content, as well as helps other people find the stuff. Thank you, that's all for today, and goodbye.